Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. I live with my wife in a house, and we have about half an acre of land. There's a garage attached to the house where I store a lot of my things. We also have a lot of neighbors, and all of them have similarly sized houses and yards. It's pretty common for people to have yard sales during the summertime. My wife and I had one a few years back, but it's not something we do very often. However, living in a large neighborhood, sometimes we'll check out the ones nearby. Last year, our neighbors just down the street were having a yard sale. The man who lived there, Dave, had always been decently friendly with me, and I had spoken with him several times. We weren't close friends or anything, but we had been to each other's places once or twice. I remember Dave gave me a hand when I was working on my car at one point. His wife was also friendly with my wife. So, when we saw they were having a yard sale, we decided to stop by and check it out. Their yard sale was going on over the weekend, and on Friday afternoon, we walked over. I saw that they had a bunch of things out in the driveway and also many items on some tables in the garage. While checking out the sale, we entered the garage area, and I noticed a really nice tool set for sale. It was the same kind as the one I had, which is why I noticed it. I picked it up and looked at it, and that's when I saw a sticker on it, just like the one I had put on mine years ago. That sticker wasn't originally on the box, I had added it as a joke. It had to be my tool set. I thought back to the last time I used it, which had been a couple of months ago. My garage had a lot of stuff in it, but it wasn't super cluttered. I put the tool set back and didn't want to accuse Dave of stealing from me without proof. He was talking with someone and didn't notice me inspecting it. I continued browsing through his other items and noticed a digital air filler for sale that was identical to the one I owned. The thought crossed my mind that it could be mine, but I brushed it off as coincidence. Then I noticed two other things that were similar to items I had in my garage, and my suspicions grew stronger. My wife was now chatting with Dave and his wife, and I joined in the conversation. However, I didn't bring up the fact that Dave had the same things as me. We wished them luck with the sale and walked back home. On the way back, I told my wife about what I'd seen. She said I was crazy and that there was no way Dave had stolen from us, but I knew that sticker was unique to my tool set. I was lucky I had even noticed, considering how many items they were selling. Once we got home, I went straight to the garage and looked through my things. I couldn't find my tool set anywhere, nor could I find the other items Dave had for sale that matched mine. I was in disbelief. I would have never suspected Dave of stealing from me, but I didn't know how else to explain it. The next day, I went back to Dave's yard sale. Some of the things that I suspected were mine had already been sold, but luckily, the tool set was still there. It was the most valuable item, and he was selling it for $75 when I had originally bought it for around $200. I confronted Dave about it, but he denied everything. He claimed that I must have been mistaken and that he would never steal from me. When I brought up the sticker, he had no explanation other than saying he got it as a gift and that the person who gave it to him must have put the sticker on. He seriously expected me to believe that was just a coincidence. I told him I was taking the tool set back, but Dave insisted I pay the $75 if I wanted it. I should have just taken it, but instead, I put it back and left. I went home and looked through my garage again, and the missing items still weren't there. I knew he had stolen them. After that incident, I decided I didn't want anything to do with Dave anymore. We stopped being friendly with each other. I later realized how he must have gotten into my garage. I had always left the back door unlocked. Our neighborhood is quiet and usually very safe, and the door led to a fenced-in backyard. I had never bothered to lock it, and Dave probably knew that from being in my garage before. It creeps me out to think he entered my garage and stole from me without me knowing. This happened back when I was a kid. I believe I was about 7 years old or so. Back then, I really liked going to yard sales with my parents. Sometimes, my mom would go to them and get things for really cheap, and I would always look at the toys and kid stuff and find some interesting things. I remember once finding a PlayStation for $5, which was crazy. Anyway, I went to this one garage sale with my mom and sister. There were actually a decent number of people there, and there were tons of things. We started looking through stuff, and I soon wandered off from my mom and sister because I wasn't interested in what they were looking at. I remember I was looking through these video games about halfway down the driveway when a woman came up to me. I looked up at her as she approached, and for some reason, I thought it was her garage sale. She said hi and asked me what I was looking at. After I told her, she said there was a box at the end of the driveway, and I could have something for free from it. Some yard sales would have a free bin, which was usually old Happy Meal toys or random things that people didn't want. So, I figured that's what it was, and the lady was just being nice. We walked over there, and she asked me to pick something out. There was a lot of stuff, and it wasn't bad at all for a free bin. I looked through it for probably 2 or 3 minutes. The woman just stood there, sometimes pointing things out and asking if I wanted them. Finally, I picked out a Hot Wheels car and told her that's what I would take. She then said I needed to take it to the car. Now, I can't remember if she gave me a reason or not. If she did, I don't remember what it was, but looking back, it seems like a weird thing to say. I know she said something like that, and for some reason, I didn't think much of it. I was still under the impression that it was her yard sale, so I started walking over to the car, which was parked on the side of the road a little ways down. It was a quiet residential street, and with the other people at the yard sale, there were probably about 4 or 5 other cars parked. When I was almost across the street, the lady grabbed my hand. I thought she was just being extra safe, in case of cars or something, but it felt weird because I was old enough to cross the street on my own, especially one that quiet. However, that's when I heard someone yell from back up the driveway. It was my mom, and I looked up to see her waving for me to come back. There was also another woman, about halfway down the driveway, who was also yelling. For a moment, I was very confused, but then the lady let go of my hand. At the same time, she moved away, and I watched her get into a car that was already running and parked on the side of the road. I remember seeing a man driving, and after the woman got in, the car quickly drove away. I went back to the driveway, where my mom and the other woman asked me all about what had happened. I told them my side of the story, and they said the lady wasn't running the sale, it was the other woman who was with my mom. She had seen me arrive with my mom and sister and noticed the woman with me at the free toys. When she saw me leaving with her, she had a bad feeling about it and asked my mom if she knew that person. That's when they started yelling for me. I know some people might say my mom shouldn't have let me wander off alone, but at all the yard sales we had been to before, nothing like that had ever happened. If I didn't 100% believe that the woman ran the sale, there's no way I would have trusted her or gone with her. Plus, my mom was occupied with my 5-year-old sister, who was usually much more of a handful than I was. The sale was crowded, and after that, I wasn't let out of my parents' sight for a long time. I feel lucky that I made it out okay, and I'm glad I didn't go any farther with that woman. A few years ago, we had a garage sale at our house. I live with my husband in the suburbs, and being in a large neighborhood, we decided to have a sale. After cleaning out the house, there were a lot of things we didn't need anymore, so we figured we could make some money. Anything that didn't sell, we planned to donate. We went through everything, organized our items, and set them up in the garage and driveway. We were selling quite a few things. Our garage was usually very clean and empty, aside from the car, a fridge, a lawnmower, and a few other items. There was plenty of space to set up folding tables and display things for sale. In case it rained, we could move everything into the garage to keep it dry. Fortunately, the weather was great that weekend, and lots of people showed up. My husband and I took turns sitting at a table, acting as the cashier. By the end of the day on Saturday, we had sold more than expected and made a decent amount of money. Around 6 p.m., we closed up for the day. I stayed at the cashier table while my husband went to pick up the signs we had placed around the neighborhood, one at a busy street corner and another closer to the house. He also took down the sign from our yard. After a couple of stragglers left, we started putting everything back into the garage for the night. We planned to open for a few more hours the next day to see if anything else would sell. After everything was back inside, we closed the garage and went inside. It was a normal Saturday night after that. Several hours passed, and my husband and I were in the living room watching a movie on the couch when, out of nowhere, we heard a door open and shut. Confused, we got up and walked toward the noise, which was coming from the kitchen. When we got there, I saw a man for a split second inside our house, before he disappeared from view. We both panicked and ran to the other end of the house, into our bedroom, and locked the door. My husband quickly called the police. Everything happened so fast. All we knew was that a random man was inside our house, and we had no idea how he got in. We could hear him walking around on the other side of the house. We went into the far corner of the bedroom and then into the connected bathroom, trying to get as far away as possible from him. We didn't know if he was dangerous or what his intentions were, so we just waited. It felt like forever, but after a few minutes, we didn't hear much movement anymore. Finally, the police arrived. They searched the entire house and eventually found the man hiding in our basement. He didn't give a reason for why he was in our house, but it didn't take long to figure out that he had entered through our attached garage. He must have been at the garage sale and hidden inside the garage, out of sight, when we were closing up. None of us knew he was in there. Once we went inside, he had free access to the house. We typically didn't lock the door from the garage to the house, because we always locked the main garage doors. I thought of the garage as almost another room in the house, so it didn't seem necessary. But that all changed after this incident. I'm not sure what the man's intentions were. Maybe he thought we had gone to sleep and was planning to steal from us. He had been in the garage for hours. I'm just thankful he didn't harm us, and that the police found him before anything worse happened. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.